If you are ready to file your 2022 taxes, you can go to irs.gov and click Free File. And here there are 11 free file offers for 2022. And what's confusing this year that sometimes one company is offering two different offers. You have to compare them. Sometimes it's a difference of age or location. Now we're going to use ezTaxReturn.com. I've never used it previously, but we're going to try this offer. And you want to make sure you're clicking the link from the IRS Free File website, because sometimes the offers are not the same if you go directly to the company. Now here it does say if your AGI is below 73,000, you will qualify for this federal free, but state would be 1995. And then it's also listing which states qualify. So I don't know why they can't make it for all states. If you want qualified, they do tell you that the federal would be $30, state would be $20, or both for $40. So it's still a pretty decent deal. Now we're going to also go to the company's website directly and see whether the pricing is the same. So if I go directly to ezTaxReturn.com, it seems exactly the same website, which is good, but some companies don't have that. And here you can see that it does specify about the free filing, the federal will be free, and then if you don't qualify, you have the other options. So now when you are ready to file, click Free File, and now you will have to create an account. Now what I like here is that it does give you option to import TurboTax PDF. So it just seems only that file from TurboTax that would be able to be uploaded, so you don't have to pre-populate all the information. So that's helpful, but it won't necessarily apply to everyone. What's important to know, at the very top you have personal info, income, expenses, itemized deduction, taxes and credits, state tax, and e-file. So all these sections we will go through. Each of them, before you start, are being asked whether you want to do guide me step by step or let me choose myself. When you select guide me step by step, you have to finish answering all the questions before you finish that section. If you choose let me choose myself, it will open all the subsection for that section and let you figure it out if you know which one applies to you. We're going to first choose the guide me step by step, but once you choose that, you have to finish in order to move forward. It is very helpful whenever software has these wizards, like a filing status or dependency wizard, that based on the questions that you answer, it can provide you which, let's say, filing status is appropriate for you. And if you hover over the orange words, there's actually a definition or more information for you provided, so you can see if it applies to you or what it means. So it's very helpful because it's right on the spot. It's not like you have to search for it. It's actually right there. And right now it's telling me, based on my answer, my filing status should be single. And that's what I'm going to choose, but I can still hover over the other options to see what they are and what are the requirements. Now you have to provide some personal information and then keep clicking continue and answering all the questions. Now, what I really also liked in the software was that many of the questions that will most likely apply as no or yes to majority of taxpayers are pre-filled as default. So for example, most people are not legally blind, so it's safe to say the answer should be no as a default, and if it applies to you, then you would switch it to yes. Now the question about the digital assets, that's about virtual currency, let's say. The next set of questions are very important because they define how much credits and deductions you could receive. Like if you're dependent of another person, that's going to affect your standard deduction. So this is important. If you're not sure what it means, you can just hover over the definition. The same thing if you have a dependent. To answer that question is super important because some credits and deductions are only available to people who have dependents, and then the amount also will vary. And now I answer all the personal information section, and I see a summary of all the questions I've answered. And I answered all of the questions because I selected the guide me step by step. If I select myself, then I wouldn't have to answer each of the questions. Now, if you want to make any changes, you can click edit and go to that subsection. Now we are in the second section, income. And here it's also asking me, do I want to be guided or do I want to choose myself? So I'm going to still do guided for the income section. The first thing is asking about wages. Do I have Form W-2? And Jane has Form W-2, so I'm going to say yes. Now you have to fill out everything exactly like it is listed on your W-2. I'm going to check if the software checks for errors. So I'm going to put wrong employee identification number. So this is like a social security for the employers. Once I was missing one number, right away the software told me, hey, this is invalid, so you have to fix it, double check it before we can move on. So that was good. So I had to manually enter all the numbers here, but what I also like that this software has the numbers for the boxes from my IRS form, because some software, they just put the name of the box instead of the box number. So I see box 1, 2, 3, box 12, box 13. So then I can reference it on my form and make sure I put the right number in the right box. Now I completed W-2 and now it's asking me whether I have another one. If I do, I have to click add new entry. Now here we have the interest income, and at the top we're still under income, and I can't skip through. I have to continue answering these questions. So I have a 1099 INT. Now it's $100 for interest income. That would be nice, but just for simplicity's sake, I kept it simple. And then we have a 1099 div for dividend income, and I'm going to add that into the software for Jane. Now you want to make sure you reference the box numbers from your statement, but you want to make sure you put the correct number in the correct box. So I just have ordinary dividend and qualified dividend. Now another error checking situation here, basically I have to fix this before I can continue. So this was good because I had to go back and double check my information. Now what happened here I want to show you is I clicked home at the very top thinking I would go to my personal information, but no, what it does, it actually takes you to the home page of the ezTaxReturn, and I had to sign in again to my account. So home does not mean the beginning of your tax software filing. So the way to go back to your account, you actually have to click my account next to home. And here you can change your password and all kinds of things with your tax return account. If you want to go back to the tax return you're filling out, you have to click on go to my 2022 tax return. What's nice that it got me back to the exact point where I left off, because I was under the guide me step by step. It got me back to the dividend income. I can't bypass it. I have to actually continue. You can see under personal information all the subsections there because I finished it. I can't see that under income because I haven't finished that section. If you're a gig worker or Uber driver, maybe you received 1099K, you want to mark that here. Now, if you sold any stocks or mutual funds and you got gains or losses, you want to report it here, and Jane sold a stock. Now, you should receive 1099B from the broker and it has all that information. If you inherited this stock or you purchased half of it one time, another time, you want to mark it. So now I wish there was a box number reference here instead of just the words, because sometimes it's not clear, like net sales price, like what does it mean? You can hover over the word to figure it out, but it's much more helpful for taxpayers who are not comfortable filling their taxes, which item from the statement they should put in each of these fields. So sometimes if you have multiple, you can just put in the summary. If you had any capital loss carry over, like you lost an investment in the past, but you couldn't deduct all of them at once, you have to report it here. If you receive unemployment or state refund on 1099G, you want to report it here. Now, the unemployment compensation goes in box 1, and a lot of people who get unemployment, they also have withholdings, not only for federal but state, so you want to make sure you list them here. And sometimes the 1099G doesn't look exactly how it does here, but it should have all the boxes listed. And the income tax refund from state, most of the time it's not taxable, but if you itemize the year before, some of it can. Now I entered the state identification number wrong because I just made it up, so it wasn't consistent with the federal one. So it gave me an error, which is good. Now it's asking for my self-employment income, but it doesn't really define what it is. And then it's going to ask me about retirement, rental, social security, and Jane is only 34, so a lot of these questions don't apply to her, but I have to answer them in order to continue because I chose the guide me step by step option. Now once you finish, you can now see a summary of all the questions you've answered about your income, and you can see the total entered as well as taxable. And what's really helpful is that you can edit each of them here by clicking the edit option. Now we're moving towards expenses. And so since I finished my income section, now I can hover over it and actually go back to it and see all the summary of all the different categories of income. It only shows up after you finish the section. So for expenses, I'm going to do let me choose myself. And here what happens is now I see the summary first, and it's asking me, okay, which one do you want to fill out? Jane is a teacher, and so she has some expenses as a teacher, but it does provide, what is the requirement. She has to been working as a teacher at least 900 hours. Now, Jane also contributed $400 to her traditional IRA, so I'm going to enter that information. What else do we have? We also have student loans, so we're going to put $200 for student loan that she paid interest on. Now I'm going to click on the Y next to the deductible amount for my IRA contribution. And this is so awesome because this actually shows either an actual form from the 1040 and shows the calculation, or just like a summary calculation, what it is. Now for the student loan calculation, you can see the tax form and the calculation why the whole amount of $200 is deductible for Jane. Now we are moving to the next section, which is itemized deduction. And most people, about 90%, standard deduction is better, but in some cases, itemized deduction might work better for you. And if you're not sure, you can just put in the expenses here, like your real estate taxes, your mortgage interest, and Jane has both. So we're going to enter that information from Form 1098 and provide some info, how much interest she paid, as well as charitable contributions. Now for 2021 and 2020, charitable contribution, taxpayers could deduct some amounts even if they didn't itemize, but that's no longer the case for 2022. So the only way to deduct charitable contribution is if you itemize. So we're going to enter all the information here for Jane, and hopefully we'll be able to tell whether itemizing or the standard deduction would be better for her. So now we see the summary, and here, super helpful, it does say that standard deduction will be $12,950, but if she'd itemized, it'd be $2,505. And you have these Y question marks next to it, and you can click on them to find out how the calculation is performed. So you can ask the software to choose the best option for you. We are moving towards the end of the software with some credits, and we're going to choose let me choose myself to enter credit information. Now most of the time credits are better because they reduce dollar for dollar your tax liability versus deduction reduce your taxable income. Jane received marketplace insurance, so she needs to make sure she puts that information here because she needs to reconcile how much in subsidy she received from the government. Now she only had that coverage for 1 month, and I liked how I was able to put in just that 1 month information because some software I had to enter zeros everywhere, and here it was pre-filled out. Now the software also asked her about savers credit, and that's a credit that very rarely people know about. So that was good that the software realized that she had some retirement contribution for 401k on her W-2, as well as she contributed to her traditional, and it was asking her additional questions to see if she qualifies for this credit. In similar fashion, earned income tax credit is very valuable credit, and sometimes taxpayers don't know that they can also qualify for this even if they don't have dependents. If in a pets, let's say the credit was disallowed, you want to make sure you provided information. And let's say she also had some education expenses. She took a class for her job. You can provide that information here about the institution. And then it's asking all these extra questions because the software wants to identify which education credit you should receive, the American Opportunity Tax Credit or the Lifetime Learning Tax Credit. Now you have a summary of all your taxes and credits. And if you hover over the calculation, like the amount, how much you can receive, like let's say under premium tax credit, it tells you you qualify for $158. And if you click Y, it shows you the calculation, how it came up with that. Now this kind of made me feel like, whoa, what happened? Something happened, because the red color was used in the software as a warning, as a errors. Whenever I had an error, that would be in red. No, this is congratulations and it's red. I wish it was like green or blue or something. But this is basically showing you federal bottom line, a summary of calculation, how much in refund Jane would receive. Now we've finished with federal and the software is asking whether you want to prepare a state tax return or not, and you can choose your state and say if you want to prepare it. And now all the questions that are going to be asked right now are going to refer to the state, and so it's going to be different depending on your state because there are different regulations for state taxes. And when you finish, you will show you what's your state bottom line, and Jane has a refund of $102. And now you are able to either go back and review state and federal or continue to download an e-file. And you have an option to either e-file both of them, just e-file federal or state. And remember, we were talking about federal was supposed to be free and the state would be $19.95. Now you can specify direct deposit or paper check for the refunds, and you have to do each of them one by one. If you receive identity protection PIN, which is a PIN to secure your tax return, maybe your Social Security was compromised in the past and you have to use it to file it. Now you will have to verify your identity in order to e-file. So it might ask you some additional questions like if you have your filing from prior year, you might need to use your AGI. So that's why it's important to keep a copy of your prior year return. And obviously I don't have that information, so I have to try to bypass it because it's giving me errors. Now it's also letting me to actually review my filing, so it's letting me view a PDF version of my taxes. So that's really helpful. 18 pages of the federal and state return. It's showing up here. And I can download the copy, so that's super helpful. Now I wish it was showing the pricing summary here somewhere, but it doesn't. So thanks so much for watching.